I could do this for hours and hours and hours. I could do this for hours.
All right. Yes, sir. It is your boy KB, the boss from ShifterMagazine.com. I'm here with one of the rising stars here in the R&B scene. Not just in Canada, in the United States, but really she's making a splash globally after writing for major artists like Rihanna, Mariah Carey, Madonna, Chris Brown, and Selena Gomez. She's launched out in her own right and become a success in her own right, blending R&B, rap, and pop sounds. Hours and Hours, one of the biggest R&B tracks of the year so far. Really kind of put her in the mainstream, and her project has kind of received great acclaim. I'm talking about the 2021 release, Public Displays of Affection. I'm talking about none other than Muni Long. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey there.
All right, so let's go back all the way to we're going to obviously talk about the music and whatnot, but let's kind of go back to the beginning. I kind of want to get a little bit of the origin story behind your come up. What was your relationship with music like growing up? I know for a lot of artists, they kind of maybe grew up singing in church, or they grew up just hearing a lot of music around the house. Like for you, what was kind of your relationship with music growing up?
Same. It was all around. My dad played the trumpet. He was always listening to jazz. My mom would sing. She was always listening to oldies. Jukebox music, as we called it, or excuse me, joint music. Always like a bootleg CD, listening to underground stuff of artists that I'd never heard of, still to this day. My older brother would be listening to rap, Biggie, Tupac, Rap City, The Basement, BT. And then I was listening to pop music, like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, Christina Aguilera, Jessica Simpson, Janet, Aaliyah, Mariah, Brandy, the TRL Countdown, 106 in Park. So it was very eclectic. Everybody had their own thing. And then obviously on Sunday, we went to church. Saturday morning, we listening to like gospel music, cleaning up. And Sunday, we go to church. And I would have to sing in the choir. So I honestly just thought that singing was normal and everybody could do it. Just some people didn't. I didn't really have a choice. My mom used to make me, get up, So I was always singing at weddings and funerals and singing the national anthem and singing in church. It was just all nonstop, all the time. I was just always singing.
And at that time, were you kind of already thinking, okay, this is maybe what I'm going to do for my career, or is it just like, you're saying it?
I didn't know that it was an option. That I could, because back then it's like the internet and social media has made the world so much smaller. But back then, it was sort of like unattainable to be like you had to get discovered in a bar or something like that, or you had to like go to one of these talent agency auditions or have an agent. So I had no clue how it was going to happen, and I entered so many competitions and was always trying to get noticed, but it wasn't until YouTube came along in 2004 that I really thought, hey, wait a minute, this might be my chance, my way out. So, I always gravitated towards the arts and performing. Went to art schools growing up. Was always on a stage somewhere. But it wasn't until, like I said, YouTube came along and I really thought that I could.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting, though, that you gravitated towards pop music, because I think people would not typically think, that you maybe gravitate towards. What was it about pop music and NSYNC and all those things that kind of resonated with you that made you kind of want to gravitate towards that?
They were just amazing songs, I remember the first time I discovered the Spice Girls, just that sound. It was just huge. Britney Spears, it was like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? And also, not to be confused with R&B was pop also at that time. So Are You That Somebody? It's a pop song. You know what I mean? So many artists like Usher, B2K. Like there are so many. Genuine, um, Tony Braxton, Unbreak My Heart. Like these are all huge, timeless pop songs. Whitney Houston. So I think when you think pop, most of the time we think, you know, for lack of a better word, we think white.
Yeah.
But R&B and Black music was also very strong in the early 2000s. Ashanti, Maya, you know, Drew Hill, Cisco, Thong Song. I mean, that was one of the biggest songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what shaped my ears, like just those big sounds. And it wasn't specific to one group of people. Like it's funny because as time has progressed, it seems like it's gotten even more segregated. But I think we're coming back to a time where you can't create a movement by yourself. I'm not the only one. You know, you got Lotto, you got Meg Thee Stallion, you got Santana just is getting ready to drop a song, which I love. It's got that same Crazy in Love sample. You got Normani, myself. There is a wave coming of music that taps back into that sound, that big sound. You know, I think artists are not afraid of it anymore. And also, you can't gatekeep, you know, an artist that's got millions of followers and can just drop a song and the demand is there instantly. So it's another thing on our side.
Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of thinking back to just me growing up in, you know, in our neighborhood back in the day. Like we were definitely playing like, you know, the Wu-Tang and Nas, but we were also playing Spice Girls. It's funny, like the group of guys, like we were listening to like the 90s, like East Coast, West Coast hip hop, and then, you know, we would throw on a little Spice Girls here and there. So it definitely is like just good music. And every once in a while today, I still throw on a little bit of Spice Girls. And this is nobody knew that before this interview here, but so let's talk about. There's a quote I found that says, you know, Priscilla was the name I was born with, but you know, the person you always wanted to be was Muni Long. You know, so talk about that. Like, what's the difference between Priscilla and Muni Long? If there is one.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like a swap, right? Because Priscilla is my government name, and it's kind of like having a corporate job when you are providing a service for other people. You know, you don't go into your 9 to 5 like, yeah, woo, party. Like, you don't do that, you know? And you can't be a super personality when you're in someone else's space. Because essentially that's what it is. It's someone else's space. It's not your space. And so, you know, Muni Long is literally like the real me. Like, this is how I am every day when I'm with my friends. Funny, goofy, loud. You know, sometimes I don't want to talk at all. Very creative with my appearance, expressive. That's actually like me. So it's funny because it's kind of like I did a swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference is like this is actually the real authentic personality that people get to see on my socials and TikTok and things like that.
Okay. Now let's go back before we get into like the more recent music. Let's go back to just the writing days, because obviously you spent like a good kind of decade just writing. You know, were there any times during that period where you kind of like maybe had doubts about the dream? Were you kind of like, and was there any moments where you're like, man, is it ever going to happen for me as an artist as compared to just being a writer? Or were you like, do you have any of those thoughts in that moment in that during that period of just being like the writer?
I think people like sometimes misinterpret what that's going to feel like. It's not just for me personally. I think everyone experiences this every day when they're in a position of doing something that they don't want to be doing, you know, or that isn't actually their purpose or the call that's on their life. When you feel that resistance, when you get that knot in your throat, when you feel like, God, I don't want to go over here. Like, that's it. That's the feeling. You know, we feel that every day, you know. And I'm not talking about like the dang, I don't want to wash the dishes feeling. I'm talking about that feeling that just like you irritated in your soul, you know this isn't what you should be doing. There's a better use of your time. So yes, I've absolutely felt like that. But I also knew on the other side that it was feeding me and helping to fuel my dream. It was a long game. It's like, I had to be patient because I'm just like, I know there is a reason why I'm doing this right here, but I cannot allow myself to get comfortable in this seat because this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. This is just the means to an end.
Yeah. I like that because I have those conversations with people a lot, like recently, just people not being able to play the long game. So I feel like nowadays in the industry, a lot of people just want the success right now, but they don't have the ability to play the long game, So I just find it interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute.
Definitely.
10 years.
Wow. So let's talk about Hrs and Hrs, because that's obviously the song that this year that kind of really blew up. Did you know that song when you were writing it, recording it? Did you know that song was going to be what it would become?
No way.
Yeah.
I just knew that I loved it and I wanted to keep playing it over and over. Mm-hmm. No way. You can't predict that. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. No freaking way. Especially with like how judgy people are. I mean, it's in my last interview, somebody like people have lately, like the last month, have been going out of their way, trolls, to tell me like you're a one-hit wonder, you'll never have anything else. That's like the general climate of how people talk. Like they're super negative, mean, trying to get under your skin. So to have like the overwhelming support and affirmation from people was just kind of like, is it real? Are we sure? It took me a minute to really accept it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, nah, because as soon as I start feeling myself and be like, y'all gonna be like, girl, don't do too much, So, I'm grateful, but there's no way that you can predict something like that. It's an anomaly.
Mm-hmm. I find that with anything that's kind of creative, even just as a writer, myself, just as a journalist, like there's always those things you create. You think, oh, this is going to be it. It's going to be the big one, and then it's not received well, and then the one that you thought wasn't going to be anything ends up being the one that hits. So I think it's like that across the board of just creativity in general. You never know what fans are going to gravitate towards when you're creating. So yeah, let's talk about writing, because I feel like obviously you are a writer. How is it? Is it easy for people to write for you as a writer? Like whether it's on this project or just before, like, is it easy for people to write for you? Is it easy for you to have people write for you as someone who is a writer?
I'm attracted to people who just like have their own unique perspective. So like, I wouldn't advise people to try to write for me. Just make something great.
Yeah.
And like, you never know. I might just be like, that's dope. Like, let's mess around with that, I think people get in their own way sometimes when it comes to working with me. Like, I prefer for people not to know anything that I've done. Because it really grinds my gears when I get in a room with someone and they're like, you don't need any help. I'm just like, it's not about what I need. I also don't need Gucci, but
yeah.
You know what I mean? I would really like to have it. Yeah.
Okay. So overall, how are you feeling when that? Like, having played the long game, 10 years writing, just as a writer of the game, how does it feel to be where you're at right now? You're having this success you're having. Even just, I mentioned a few people that I was interviewing today. They're losing it. They're like, oh my gosh, like just to see the reaction of people to you. Like, how does it feel like after like this 10 years of just grinding and working to be at this place where you're at right now, where you're just having this level of success and people are just really taking to you in your music?
I just feel free. Mm-hmm. I just feel like cool. Now I can be myself. It's like, I mean, the ladies will understand. It's like coming home and taking your wig off or taking your bra off. It's like, whoo, cool. I can relax. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like unrestricted.
Yeah.
Best way to put it. I'm not beholden to anyone. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. It's great.
Okay. No, that's good. I'm happy for you. Like, freedom is very important. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk to you just about your delivery, because I feel like, and we kind of got into this I think earlier, but I was kind of just one thing that stands out to me is you kind of like I feel like you sing like a R&B artist, but you like flow like a hip hop artist sometimes. Like I feel like okay, you're doing both. Like you're singing, but yet you're flowing. Like your flow is tight. Like I mean, you talked about some of the hip hop influences like growing up and whatnot, but just talk about that. Like just that blanks. I feel like you kind of do you do the R&B singing with the hip hop flows, and it just sounds tight. Like where does that come from?
I mean, I want to be a rapper sometimes fake. I feel like I'm I have a chance. I be rapping though too. I got like a lot of songs that nobody's ever heard where I'm just straight up rapping. And I always say this, like, nobody can talk shit like a Florida girl. Like it's just a thing. Like it's a rite of passage. I think that's probably why I love Santana and the City Girls so much. Cause I get it. It's like it's just something. So I love when I get to show that off, and it's weird because I'm super like country, and we have a very specific way that we talk. And when I put that in these pretty R&B songs, people are like, oh, why you had to say the N-word? Why you had to cuss? You could have left that out. I'm just like, that's nothing compared to how I actually talk. If you actually heard a conversation, you would be disgusted. Like, people expect you to be like this pretty princess, which I, of course, can be. And I am from time to time. But I think we live in an age where like Black women, Black people, Black culture, it's not a monolith. It doesn't come in one shade, shape, behavior, vernacular, accent. We are a broad spectrum, a big fat rainbow gumbo of all kinds of humans. And I have to be authentic. I saw something that said, I think it was Drake posted a meme, or was it Chris Brown, that said, I just like to do ratchet things with classy people. Something like that.
I like that.
Like that's it. I want to go to a nice place and act a fool.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I gotta make a trip to Florida. I've never been out there yet, so I gotta.
Oh my gosh! Make sure you get crab legs when you do go.
Sorry.
Crab legs. You gotta get some crab legs when you go.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest seafood guy. I'm not the biggest seafood guy, but I'll try. I'll definitely try it.
Oh my god! No.
Yeah. No,
you never had a crab boil?
No, we're from Canada, man. We don't do that stuff in Canada,
bro. You only saying that because you never had it before.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yes. Before we go, let's talk about the single. You have a new single that's coming out, featuring Saweetie. That's a huge feature, by the way. That's a big feature. Baby Boo, and I got to hear the track. Super dope track. Very upbeat. Kind of reminded me of kind of the Ghost Town DJs, My Boo type of track. Talk about that. Talk about just first of all, just having Saweetie on the track and how that all came together.
Saweetie's a sweetheart. She's amazing. It's an absolute pleasure to work with. Super bubbly and fun. We complement our personalities, complement each other well. She has been working on her album, and I got the call to come in and possibly do something for us to collab. And I had just worked on Baby Boo, I think 2 nights before, and was still living with it, thinking like, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to use it? Does it fit? And originally I was not going to have a feature, but the more people heard it, was like, yo, this is it. And I try not, you mentioned something about like making something and being like, this is it. I don't do that. Never judge my songs. I just make them, and I know how they. If I like how they make me feel, if I laugh, if I giggle, then that's how I judge. Like if it's something that I can use. So this song made me happy, made me want to dance. I play it. At first, she's like, I think she had like a really specific idea of what she wanted us to work on, and then people from her label are coming in and out listening, like, yo, that's crazy. Her manager, everybody, other writers, producers, like, yo, that's crazy. And she came back and was like, okay, I'm gonna put a verse. I was tripping. I'm gonna put the verse down, and I need you to, do something for me. So I came back a couple of days later, and we did something that we'll do together if she ends up using it. Getting ready to shoot the video. She's actually singing, which is, I was pleasantly surprised to hear that from her. And I think she's really like, the new Saweetie era is going to be fun to watch. I'm glad that I get to be a part.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad you guys actually got to work together, because I find nowadays, like, a lot of people don't seem to actually be in the studio together. They just kind of like, send their tracks back and forth, and everything happens digitally. So it's cool to hear that you guys actually were in the studio together, vibing and, cooking up something together.
I don't like that. I'd rather not do it. I prefer to, I don't like the transactional thing. Like, I'm always asked, because I want to collaborate. I love collaboration. So I'll probably, pass on something if I can't connect with the person.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're definitely, we've heard the track, but I'm sure everybody out there in the whole music world is going to be looking forward to hearing this song, you and Saweetie together on a track. That's huge. That's big. I want to say thank you for your time. Like, it was definitely a pleasure, and you sold me on the trip to Florida. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to go try do a crab boil and all that kind of stuff while I'm there. But yes, thank you so much for your time, and wishing you much success. In the future.
Thank you so much.